All right, let's talk about it. That one big question. Is this pregnancy or is my period just on its way? It's a question that can bring on a whole mix of emotions, right? From hope to anxiety and just a ton of confusion. Well, today we're going to decode those subtle signs your body sends out, giving you a much clearer idea of what's really going on. Let's get right into it. So, you notice a little change in your body and your mind just starts racing. Look, that feeling of uncertainty, it's completely normal. And that's exactly why we put this explainer together, to cut through that noise and give you a clear, straightforward path to understanding. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the signs of early pregnancy. Then we'll cover what to look for before your period. After that, we'll dive into the hormones that are pulling all the strings behind the scenes. We'll also talk about when you might need to worry, and then we'll wrap it all up with a quick summary and your next steps. Okay, let's kick things off by decoding those very first clues your body might be giving you. We're zeroing in on the signs that can pop up in the super early weeks of pregnancy, sometimes even before you've actually missed a period. The signs of early pregnancy can be really specific, and believe it or not, it often starts with discharge. The first thing you might notice is just more of it, a noticeable increase in quantity. The color is typically a milky white, almost like diluted milk. And the texture, this is a huge clue, it's often creamy or stretchy, a lot like raw egg whites. And this is crucial, it should be odorless. This isn't a one-day thing either. It usually increases gradually over the first few weeks. So why on earth does this happen? Well, it's not random at all. Your body is being incredibly smart here. This change has a really important job. This specific discharge actually creates a natural protective barrier at the cervix, helping to shield the tiny, newly developing embryo from any potential infections. It's like your body's very first security system. Okay, so that's the pregnancy side of the story. Now let's flip the coin and compare that to the signs you typically see right before your period is about to start. Now, for premenstrual discharge, the signs are pretty different. First off, you probably won't see a big jump in the amount. It usually stays at a medium level. The color might be white, or sometimes it can have a bit of a yellowish tint. But the biggest difference here is the texture. It tends to be thicker and creamier, and definitely less stretchy. And one final clue? It might turn a bit brown or pink right as your period is about to start, which is just a little bit of blood mixing in. And this chart just lays it all out, side by side, which is so helpful. Look at that texture row. Stretchy for pregnancy versus creamy or thick for premenstrual. Total opposites. And the quantity, a clear increase versus stays medium. Seeing it laid out like this really helps you spot the difference at a glance. Honestly, if you're going to remember one slide from today, this is probably the one. So, we've covered the what, but what about the why? What's actually causing all these physical changes in your body? Well, the answer lies with the hidden drivers of the whole operation, your hormones. The main character in this whole story is a hormone called progesterone. You can think of it as the master regulator. Its levels rise right after you ovulate, and what it does next, well, that determines everything we've just been talking about. It decides whether your body is going to shift into pregnancy mode or start preparing for your period. So picture this, around day 14 of your cycle, after ovulation, progesterone starts to climb. And from there, you hit a fork in the road. In scenario 1, if you're pregnant, those progesterone levels are going to stay high to support the embryo, and that's what causes all those early pregnancy signs. But in scenario 2, if there's no pregnancy, progesterone levels take a nosedive. That sharp drop is the trigger that tells your body, all right, it's time to start menstruation. Progesterone isn't working alone, though. In early pregnancy, another hormone, estrogen, gets in on the action. Its levels also rise. This increases blood flow to the uterus and the whole pelvic area, which is another key reason why you see that big increase in discharge we mentioned earlier. It's a real team effort. Now, while all these changes are usually a totally normal part of your cycle or an early pregnancy, it is so important to know when something isn't right. So, let's quickly go over the signs that should be a signal to check in with your doctor.
So let's be really clear about the warning signs. If you ever notice a foul or just plain unpleasant smell, or a green or gray color, any kind of itching or irritation, or a texture that looks like cottage cheese, these are not normal signs of pregnancy or your period. They can point to an infection, so it's super important to see a doctor and get it checked out right away.
Okay, we've covered the signs, the science behind them, and the red flags. So the big question now is, what are the most practical things you can do with this information? Here is a super simple 3-step action plan. First, track your cycle. Seriously, this is the most powerful thing you can do to understand what's normal for you. Use a calendar, an app, whatever works. Second, if you think you might be pregnant and your period is late, a home pregnancy test is the best and most reliable first step. And third, and this is the golden rule, when in doubt, just talk to a healthcare professional. They're the only ones who can give you a definitive answer. And that's really the main message here. While all these general guidelines are helpful, every single body is unique. The most powerful tool you have in your toolkit is understanding your own cycle. Becoming an expert on your own personal patterns is the absolute best way to trade that feeling of uncertainty for real confidence. We really hope this has helped you feel a bit more confident about reading your body's signals and brought some clarity to what can be a really confusing time. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. We'll see you next time.